That's always a challenge, right? And I think that have I found the balance will be a very different answer for me, a very different answer for my daughters, and a very different answer for my wife. But I think as I transition into the role and understand the different time constraints and commitments that I've made to the people of Cumberland, and as well the honor that I have to serve as the Shadow Minister for Northern Affairs, Forestry, and SaskTel, all of those roles will take me away from home from time to time, and constantly learning, as any municipal or any politician should be doing, is always learning how they can best serve people while making sure that they have their lives maintained as well.
Welcome to Municipal Affairs. Earlier this month, more than 1,000 delegates from urban municipalities across Saskatchewan gathered in Saskatoon for the 2025 Saskatchewan Urban Municipalities Association Convention. The annual event was a vibrant mix of discussion, celebration, and vision building, as leaders from across the province came together to chart a course forward following the 2024 municipal elections. But for one attendee, the convention felt more like a homecoming. In the 2023 SUMA convention in Saskatoon, we were introduced to Jordan McPhail, a then dedicated councillor from northern community of Ronge. Now fast forward 2 years and McPhail has returned to SUMA, but this year not as a municipal delegate, but as a newly elected member of the Legislative Assembly. Now, we sat down with MLA McPhail to talk about his transition from municipal governance to provincial politics, the lessons learned at the council table, and how these experiences continue to shape his work in the halls of power in Regina. Across Canada, our cities, towns, villages, and rural communities are alive with stories waiting to be told. Stories of innovation and economic development, resilience in the face of the housing challenges, and the financial hurdles municipalities overcome every day. At the Cross Border Network, we bring these stories to life. From coast to coast to coast, we're connecting Canadians to the issues shaping our communities and showcasing the people working tirelessly to make them thrive. With your support, we can expand our reach, amplify more voices, and shine a light on the challenges and triumphs of municipal life. For as little as $3.99 a month, you can help us grow and continue sharing the stories that matter most. Join us today and be part of this important mission. Together, we can tell more stories, build stronger communities, and make a real difference. Support the Cross Border Network now. Visit www.crossborderinterviews.ca today.
Jordan, thank you so much for doing this. Greatly appreciate it. Last time you and I chatted in Saskatoon, we were on this floor just a few feet away from where we're recording now, and you were then the councillor for the town of Ronge, and now you're the MLA for Cumberland. How's that transition been just off the bat?
It's been really great, being able to represent my home community as the MLA, and be able to expand that geographical map. As the largest constituency in Saskatchewan, obviously the travel needs of an MLA are a little higher in the north, and being able to get to so many beautiful communities in the north, and the experience that I gained through the municipal level, being able to take some of that experience and put it into action as well as the MLA for the area, and hit the ground running, if you will. It felt great to make that transition, but there's definitely it's politics on a different scale for sure. Municipal, you're used to the many conversations that you have about road infrastructure, water and sewer infrastructure, that you'll get at the local co-ops, and once you make the transition, the stakes get a little bit higher, where you start talking about healthcare, mental health and addictions issues, the highways that connect communities together, and so it's a lot of the same people, but very different challenges that are being brought to your attention.
So how was that transition for yourself? Because beforehand, when we chatted last time, you seemed very in tune on what was going on in your local community and a few communities surrounding it. But now, as someone who has to represent, like you said, the largest riding in all of Saskatchewan, you now have to represent people from the furthest north to Ronge, to Ronge. How has that transition been to understand the unique dynamics of individual communities and individual people across the riding?
Yeah, it's a great question. Even for me, with the honor that was given to me by our leader Carla Beck to serve as the Shadow Minister for Northern Affairs, that's the entire Northern Administrative District. And so when we're sitting in session and we're bringing the issues from the constituents to Regina, it's a 6-hour drive south. And when we're not in session, me and the member from Athabasca, between the fall and spring session, we took a trip up to Fond du Lac by road. Made sure we did not fly in there. We took the road because when we're at SUMA, we hear a lot of issues about the roads from Northerners, and so we wanted to make sure that they knew that their elected representatives weren't flying over that road from 25,000 feet and wondering whether or not the road was in good condition. We drove it. And so we went there, we drove across the ice roads into Fond du Lac, almost made it into Uranium City. We saw some water on top of the ice, which is not where water should be on ice roads. And so we decided to turn around when we got close to Uranium City. But, as I've always said, it's important in the world of politics to breathe in and breathe out. And so between the sessions, getting out into those communities, listening to mayors and councils, chief and councils, and doing the work of breathing in, and then when you get to Regina during session, breathing out and talking about the issues that you've heard over the course of your time. And so for me, it's been a short time in the provincial role, but serving previously as a New North Board member, the alternate for SUMA here, getting out into those northern communities is no strange feeling for me. It's some of the best work that you can possibly do.
What was the biggest eye-opening experience going from that municipal governance background to that provincial? Because while they are very close, they are two different beasts when you look at it from an outsider's. Because municipal, you're sitting around a table with 6 or 7 other people for some municipalities, but in Regina, you are across the aisle from the government. You're across the aisle from the people who are elected alongside you. What was the biggest eye-opening experience from going from that municipal to that provincial stage?
It's a great question. For me, getting involved in the provincial field, one of the things that you quickly realize is that the small council tables, you could bring in a soft drink or your own coffee from home, and we had lots of places, I'm sure small town Saskatchewan, where you go, some councillors might show up in a hat and a t-shirt, and going into the legislative building where there's very strict rules on who speaks when, and how you're supposed to present your information, the processes on what you need to follow as an elected official to the provincial legislature is very different. I often will think of the municipal council table as a bit of a coffee row 2.0, where you talk about the issues of your municipality. It's very conversational in some municipalities, and moving towards a consensus build. And in our area, we present our ideas from either side of the house and debate them on the floor of the legislature and hope that votes go in our way. And if they don't, then being able to continue the advocacy in different fronts has definitely been some of the differences that I've noticed for sure between municipal and provincial politics.
How did that municipal experience prepare you for this new job?
I think understanding the role of an elected official, and being able to not necessarily have to zoom in on the roles and responsibilities as hard as somebody that was brand new without experience might be. For myself, obviously that there's going to be certain ways that things are brought forward. You understand Robert's Rules of Order in a lot of cases, and so being able to take those rules that you've learned through your time in municipal and being able to transition and understand part of the procedures, I think really did help in knowing to navigate the role.
when we last chatted here in Saskatoon, I asked you about that jurisdictional role and knowing which level of government plays what role in everyone's life. And I asked you coyly that would people in your community understand those jurisdictional roles? Now that you're on the other side of the table, provincially, do you get questions still about the municipal sector from a provincial standpoint, or are people coming to you and saying, Jordan, I need this issue fixed and it's a provincial matter?
The challenge now, for sure, is that there's a newly elected mayor and council in the area, and the provincial and the municipal election did happen relatively close together. And so I think there are some folks that will still ask me, what's the town doing about X, Y, or Z? And I try and make sure that I'm working with our newly elected mayor and council to say, hey, I really appreciate you reaching out and trusting me to bring this issue forward, but I'm not at that table anymore. Talk to the mayor and council, and then if the mayor and council say, well, we would love to do something like this, or we think this is provincial jurisdiction, sometimes it goes from them and then right back to me. And then our office deals with it. And so, learning, there's maybe an added step in some cases to providing advocacy to some fronts. But, working with Northern leaders, I think for myself, it's been kind of the way I approach politics is more collaborating with different levels of government, working with who's there and who's elected to serve the people, regardless of political stripe or no political stripe in the sense of municipal politics. And so for me, just learning the challenges between the many different ways on how we can advocate for people.
There's one area that we often forget to talk about when we talk about that transition, and it's the family life transition. Because as a councillor, as a mayor, you're in your community, so you get to see your family the moment after your council meeting, you get to go home. But you are off in Regina now, and that means that you're away from your family, and you have a relatively young family. You just had a brand new child last year, so congratulations since the last time we chatted. How important was it to have that strong family base at home to be able to go and do this transition? Because there are probably people who are in the municipal field going, I'd love to, but there's a large time commitment that I have to give to the province that my family is now going to have to take a back seat. Was it hard to have that conversation with your wife?
I think my wife knew that I had had some ideas that I would maybe one day run provincially when we first met, and so I don't think it came as a huge surprise to the family. However, as I have said, that there's without the support of your family, you really couldn't do this work. I think for me, I've always talked about my priorities as a human, and that's to be a good husband, a good father, and a good MLA, a good person in my career, right? And for me, I want to make sure that the home front has always been good, that the girls see dad when they can, and as you mentioned in your question there is some challenges for sure. In my day job, most municipal councillors, they have a day job as well. And so 40 hours a week I would work for SaskTel as one of the town installers in the town. And that role you would do like a week away from home and then a week at home. And so with the new role, when session's in, it's just back-to-back weeks away. So I often said that I'd travel 6 hours north. When I was working for SaskTel, I'm still traveling 6 hours on my first day of the work week. I'm just traveling south. So the family's used for me being away for a few nights a week. Just the challenge now has been it's back-to-back, and we're doing like 12-week kind of session and then 12 weeks in the constituency. And being that the constituency is large as it is, and being the shadow minister for Northern Affairs, being out and about in the community has been definite change to the family life.
Have you found the balance yet? Because I can imagine that's probably the biggest transition that someone has to do in that type of role, is learning to strike the balance of when I need to be dad, when I need to be husband, and when I need to be MLA.
That's always a challenge, right? And I think that have I found the balance will be a very different answer for me, a very different answer for my daughters, and a very different answer for my wife. But I think as I transition into the role and understand the different time constraints and commitments that I've made to the people of Cumberland, and as well the honor that I have to serve as the Shadow Minister for Northern Affairs, Forestry, and SaskTel. All of those roles will take me away from home from time to time, and constantly learning, as any municipal or any politician should be doing, is always learning how they can best serve people while making sure that they have their lives maintained as well. And so I will say that will always be a spectrum more than, I don't think you'll ever truly strike the balance. It'll just be going with the flow, as they say in some cases.
So one last question before I ask a political question, because I need to ask at least one before you go.
Absolutely.
Do you miss it? Do you miss the municipal life? Or are you happy being in the provincial realm again? Or now?
I'll say that it's an absolute honor to serve as the MLA for the area. The thing that I miss about the municipal politics is sometimes the sitting at a local table, knowing everybody around that table. You're part of the decision-making team at all times, and with the political parties and the way things are. There's very partisan ties in some cases when you're voting, and to me the part that I definitely remember sitting at a municipal council table is that everyone was from the same community. We all wanted the same thing. We wanted economic development. We wanted less people homeless and living on the street. We all had different ideas of how we were going to get there, and that consensus building that you had at the municipal table, that was definitely something that you don't see necessarily as much between two political parties in Saskatchewan.
So as the critic of Northern Affairs, which encompasses your riding in Athabasca, because that is Northern Saskatchewan, political question, and I think you're ready for it, but how would you rate this government's actions on dealing with the issues that are affecting northern communities and northern residents of Saskatchewan today?
The member from Athabasca and I, like I said, between the fall and the spring session, we went up into northern Saskatchewan by road and went into those communities, and we saw, during the campaign, there was $168 turkeys in Wollaston Lake, Saskatchewan, $20 for grapes in Stony Rapids. Speaking with folks while we were in those areas, and they were telling us the very real conversations of whether or not they could afford their power bill or feed their families. When I look at the provincial budget that was just released, we don't see a whole lot of investment in northern Saskatchewan, and we don't see a whole lot of relief offered to the people of the north. And I look at things like Highway 123, the only road that services Cumberland House. I didn't see any investment in the provincial budget, and so that makes me wonder what that will mean for the maintenance bills of the people living there. In the fall session, we had highlighted some of the food security issues. 27 people out of 50 diagnosed with scurvy in northern Saskatchewan, in Ronge.
Seriously?
Yeah, there was...
I know this is audio as well, so I should mention, not just do facial expressions, but 50 people diagnosed with scurvy?
There was 50 people tested, and out of the 50 people, 27 came back positive for scurvy in Ronge. And so this is a community that has a grocery store. This is a community that, has asphalt highway right to the community. And so if we're seeing food security issues by way of scurvy in my home community, what does that mean for people in Stony Rapids and Wollaston, Sandy Bay, where, the cost of transportation is astronomically higher to get to those areas, and the cost of groceries are higher, the cost of healthy food is higher, and then a place like Sandy Bay where you're spending $140 in gasoline before you even got to and from the grocery store. And so how many more items do you take out of your grocery cart when you have prices like that? And so, to me, in the provincial budget, they had talked about, some of the tax breaks that they were offering. I don't think the people in Sandy Bay that have 13 and 15 people living in a house and paying, $140 to access their nearest gas station needed a tax break to add a hot tub to their backyard. They needed relief from a $500 a week grocery bill. They needed relief at the pump to be able to get to the grocery store. And, we brought motions forward in the fall session to suspend the gas tax. Wasn't supported by the government. This would have helped Northerners, cut PST on grocery items. Another thing that could have helped Northerners. And to see the inaction, I think it will speak for itself. And, I'll be here listening to many Northerners on whether or not they believe that this budget delivered for them. I've had the community consultations throughout. It's not like it only happens during certain windows. Our office is always open and listening to folks. But for me, that's what I'm here for, is to listen to the Northern folks, to listen to people, and see what we can do on our side, the 27 members and the team and the leader Carla Beck, to provide the relief that so many people in the North are desperate for and looking for.
Jordan, always a pleasure to sit down with you. Greatly appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Municipal Affairs. Now, we hope you've enjoyed today's conversation, gained some valuable insights. We would like to thank the Saskatchewan Urban Municipalities Association for allowing us to attend this year's convention and record these great interviews that you have seen on Municipal Affairs over the last few weeks. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform, or if you haven't, head over to our YouTube channel and click the subscribe button there. Now, to learn more about the communities and the people we feature on this show and our sister shows, visit us online at crossborderinterviews.ca. Now, your support means the world to us, so share this episode with your friends, your family, and yes, even your community. Help keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll be back with a brand new episode of Municipal Affairs shortly.